Hello and welcome into the Wagyu Filet Show. Johnson Wagner here with Brendon de Jonge. Brendon, we got a special one tonight.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about this one, Wags. I'm glad I don't have to look at you for the whole show. This is going to be a lot of fun.
We are proud to have the 2023 Barracuda Championship winner, Akshay Bhatia, joining us on the show.
I think this is only a grip.
It's only my sole connection to this.
It's only in my hands on every single shot.
It's an extra 2 yards of carry when it matters most.
Yeah, only a grip.
Mine are only golf ride.
Respect the grip.
Akshay, there are so many places that we could start this thing. But for me, as someone who's known you for a little while, I've just got one question early that I want to know. I've heard stories about it secondhand. I've read articles about it. You've just gotten engaged in September to the lovely Presley Schultz. I would like to hear, in your own words, about how y'all met.
All right. Well, that's a hard-hitting question there. Not even about golf, man. Yeah, so we actually met over the internet. I feel like that's kind of the normal nowadays in this century, but I just, scrolling through TikTok and saw her and thought she was really pretty. So ended up DMing her on Instagram, and then she actually didn't text me for about 2 weeks, 3 weeks. So I was just waiting. I thought my chances were gone, and then ended up meeting at the Valero Texas Open. She was going to school in Texas. And then from there, we met a couple weeks later in New Orleans. She got used to the tour life very fast. But then after that, we just traveled a lot. And then she met my family at the U.S. Open, I believe. And then I met her family eventually that year. And within a year, we were living together and traveling the world. So it's pretty crazy.
You know that's not where I want to go. I want to talk about the 2022. I'm going to read this. The Bahamas Great Exuma Classic at Sandals Emerald Bay. You won that golf tournament, and I thought the story kind of originated around then.
Yeah, I guess that's kind of when, I don't know, our story became more relevant. It's funny, my caddy, I had 4 starts to start that year on the Corn Ferry Tour with the stats I had, and my caddy got COVID the week before. It was really unfortunate, but she was, coming anyways to the Bahamas. I was like, oh, just come caddy. Like, we'll just have a good time, have fun. She had no idea what she was doing. She's just getting straight into this world of caddying in a professional tournament, let alone a Corn Ferry Tour event. But anyway, we get there and we're staying at this crappy hotel. It's like 20 minutes away. You're taking these like probably 1960, bus to the golf course, and one of the Corn Ferry media people, she was like, "Hey, can we do a story on you guys? We're looking for couples, kind of promote sandals." And anyway, we ended up doing like a little one hole walk and talk, and I hit a couple shots. We talked about her story, and then the manager there was like, if there's anything we can do, let us know. And ended up getting a free room at Sandals. Like, it was perfect, all inclusive, right on the beach. We got like a really nice suite, and it was just weird because everything started to align so fast. And I think the perspective of her being there and just kind of having fun and being in the Bahamas, as teenagers, it was pretty cool, and ended up winning that golf tournament. So first time she ever caddied, first Corn Ferry event as a member, win the golf tournament. It was just like, what the heck just happened, And it's just one of the coolest memories for me, because the next week we're going to a different island in the Bahamas, and we're getting on this charter plane, and just being like the guy on that plane of like, congrats, you're the man, or whatever it is. It was like so cool. And Presley posted a TikTok when we were on the plane, and it got like over 300,000 views or something. So it's crazy. Our story just kind of bursted so fast. New York Times and locally, everywhere. It was cool.
That's pretty awesome. Brendon has a story from the Exuma Classic in 2017. Not quite the same as sliding into someone's DMs, but Brendon, do you recall your 2017 down there at Exuma?
Yeah, I actually do. My wife decided she was going to do the same thing. The similarities here, Akshay, are endless. She decided she was going to come caddy for me as well. We rode those heinous buses that you're talking about from the hotel. I didn't quite get the upgrade you did, but I did make this action-packed, pressure-packed 6-footer to break 90 in the first round. The best part about that was that I wasn't the high man in the group. Some other clown shot 92, I think, so I did have him beat. But I think that might be the hardest golf course in the entire world. It was that day. We had some miserable weather, but enough about me. This is thanks, Wags, for throwing me under the bus on that one. Anyway, all right, Akshay, listen, I'm a big fan, and I don't mean that in any weird, creepy way. I love the way you play golf. I really do. I love the fact that you are so willing to stand up there, shape it both ways. You seem comfortable moving it left to right, right to left. Tell me, is this the way you've always played? Is this you've always seen shots that way?
I think the more and more I've worked with my coach that I've worked for 5-6 years now, Chase Duncan, is kind of really excelled more, like the true feel I have, the understanding of like what it takes to hit certain golf shots. But growing up as a kid, like I used to mimic everyone's golf swing. Fred Couples, Phil, Bubba Watson, uh, Luke Donald, like all these guys, different finishes and different whatever. I was just a kid messing around, right? And I think I've always kind of learned to hit, shape shots and everything. But once I truly started working with my coach, back home, it just, for whatever reason, we simplified it so easily. Um, and now it's like on tour, there's so many things that you have to do correctly, and you have to miss it in the right spot every time if you want to be in contention. And for me, if I'm, one dimensional hitting one shot, I don't know, I can't do it. And like I'm terrible at for a stock shot, right? I have no face control doing it. Like if you told me to hit a stock 7-iron, just full finish, everything, I have no idea where the face is, which is weird, but like I hit so many knockdown shots and different flights, open the face, close the face. Um, I'm just really comfortable, hitting 2 clubs more or whatever it may be. And I think it benefits a lot, especially on tour golf courses when the greens get firmer or, you got a ton of wind. I think I can perform more under those circumstances.
That was kind of my follow-up before you said it, the wind. Like,
Yeah.
you look at the places you played really well at, Puerto Rico, Mexico Open at Vedanta, and sneaky Truckee where you won at the Barracuda, that is a sneaky afternoon windy place. So that obviously the ability to do that, and it seems like we play in wind on tour every single week.
Yeah, no, we do. I mean, there's plenty of places where you you can get some crazy gusts. I mean, I think that's why I played so well in the Bahamas when I won. Is like it blows so hard. Yeah, I mean, not to the extent where you're not breaking 90, but it does blow so hard off that ocean, and having ball control and hitting it solid is so important. But I remember telling my coach that week, like, I was like, it just feels easy to me, if it's left to right wind, I'm opening the face a crap ton. And if it's the opposite, I'm shutting the face a crap ton. Like it was just so simple to me. And yeah, I don't know. It's just anytime I get in that wind, I feel like I have that little advantage of knowing my start lines, knowing how much it's going to curve versus uh, riding the wind as much. You don't know how much it's going to get hit in that second, third. And I actually realized, last week my coach was out there at the Cognizant, and I was hitting a lot more shots riding the wind, and my distance control is terrible that whole week. And he kind of noticed that. He's like, that used to be a really big strength of yours, and I feel like you're starting to do what other guys are doing. And that really clicked with me. Like, okay, yeah, he's right. I'm starting to hit more of these basic shots that are ending up 35 feet versus hitting 2 clubs more and hitting it to 10 feet. So it's fun playing that way though. It's fun when you get it going and you're seeing everything, do the right stuff.
I want to talk about putting a little bit, Akshay. As long as I've known you, you've kind of gone from an arm lock to a broomstick. This season seems to be a little more broomstick or all broomstick, and your putting stats are really showing some improvement based on compared to last season. But the real question I have is, how old were you when you went away from conventional style putting, and why?
Yeah, I mean, I've gone through many phases, even through my pro career, of using a regular putter. Um, but right when I turned pro, let's see, this was 2019. I remember this, but I was playing U.S. Junior, and I don't know if it was the expectations or like whatever it may have been. Um, about to turn pro, like I started to feel a little uneasy over the putter, like feelings that I've never really had. Um, and going into my pro career, I thought it'd go away, it'd be fine, it'd be fine. But it always stuck around. Like I never have, I don't, it's not the yips, right? But it's more like a lot more self pressure I put on myself to like make these putts or how, try and fight the feelings that I have. So I did that for my first 7 starts when I turned pro, missed every cut, and then ended up COVID happening. And it was like obviously a terrible, terrible thing for the world, but one of the best things that happened to me. I could sit back, relax, really work on my golf swing. Um, and then I don't really know what drew me to switch an arm lock, but I gave it a try. I remember getting it and just going to this Monday qualifier, and it felt so solid. Like this felt like I used to. I used to be a really good putter, and I believe I have it in me. It's just kind of getting out of my own way. But I remember that qualifier is in Colorado, and I made like a 35 footer on the first hole with our arm lock putter, and I was like, this is great. Um, and then ended up, finishing top 10 in my first and making my first cut on tour. But fast forward, I've gone back and forth with arm lock and conventional putter, and then I obviously won Barracuda. I had one really good putting day, um, but it was just never consistent. Like I was always losing strokes on the greens, and my ball striking I was top 30 on tour. Um, but I hired a new putting coach kind of throughout that year, and then we had a conversation about broomstick, and then I think the validation of Lucas Glover doing what he did was kind of like, okay, I mean, this guy struggled forever, right? And now he's won 2 tournaments, beating all these great players, just like that, and look at the confidence he had. So I played with him in Cabo, and he rolled it great. And then I've played with him, Adam Scott in Bermuda, makes everything. And I'm like, oh my gosh, man, like what the heck? I can't, if I could putt decent, I'm going to win a golf tournament. And then I go and play RSM, play the first round. And the first 2 rounds I'm playing with Siwoo Kim, who's using a broomstick. And I remember we had a rain delay after the first round. So we come back, we finish the next couple holes. We have 20 minutes till our tee time. And I had a broomstick made up. I said, screw it. I told my guy, I said, go get that broomstick. Or like, if I miss this cut, whatever. I just want to see how this feels. And I've never felt so comfortable again. Just over, tapping in putts or hitting 3-footers. Like, it was amazing. And I didn't play that great, but it was still like, okay, this could really work. But then off season, I was stressing myself out. Past December, I've putted so, I've just done so many great things with arm lock going into this year. It's like the unknown of how this broomstick's going to really perform, and just a little indecisive. We had like two or three phone calls with my team, and it was still obviously up to me, but I was like, man, I really want to use this arm lock and just have the broomstick in my back pocket. But then Odyssey made me the kind of Ricky Fowler jailbird putter and a broomstick, and I set that thing up, and I was like, "This is it." So yeah, showed up this year, and I wrote down some goals, which I never do, and my goal is to use this putter for at least a full season, 6 months to a full season. And I remember going into Century being okay with finishing dead last in that tournament. It's like all I cared about was how's this putter going to feel and how can I improve, for future weeks. So it's been
That's a tough mindset to convince yourself. But you look good. You look really comfortable with that broomstick already. Like
And a tough place to go
it looks
play.
right.
That's a tough place to go putt with a broomstick. Kapalua, giant greens, high winds, grainy conditions. And what'd you finish? You were top 15, 13th or 14th. So, I mean, that's a good first start with it.
Yeah. I mean, I remember, playing the third round. I played with Sahith and Jordan. And, after that, I've shot 7 or 8 under. I'm in the final group of, one of the best fields of the year. Signature event, a freaking, it's just like it's almost like this kid doesn't really belong. Like this should have been Scotty Scheffler or Jordan or whoever in that final group. But it was me, I was there. And I remember after the round, Jordan being like, this kid just made everything. And hearing that from him, is something that, you're doing something right. But it has been, it's been a great change. There's been a lot of times where I'm like, how am I going to hit this putt? And I just, ends up just going close to the hole or touching the hole. And I'm hitting so many more just better strokes, more confident. And I'm looking forward to the rest of the season because that's one of my goals, being top 20, top 30 putter on tour. So.
All right, I want to pivot, take you way back to when you were a young boy or a younger boy, because you're still a young boy. But all right, you decided young man. You decided real early on that college wasn't for you. I think as an 8th grader.
Yeah.
You weren't enjoying school, didn't want to go to college. How did that conversation go with your dad?
That was the whole reason I'm here today, right? My dad had no problem with it. He saw the potential. He did a lot of things differently. I played U.S. Open locals when I was 11 years old, Monday qualifiers when I was 12, 13, 14. I played so many Monday qualifiers when I was like from 14 all the way up to 16, 17. So he was preparing me for it. This is kind of a version of the grind. I played mini tour events when I was a kid. The conversation was great. My mom, was very hesitant, being our nationality as well. It's like all about school and all about, doing the like correct thing. Right. But all in all, they had the support, and, it was great. My dad, he'll never admit about crying about anything, but I think, when I was in Puerto Rico last year and I got my tour card, I have a picture of him crying, and he won't ever admit it, but it's just, he knew that everything he did worked out. So he's a man.
I was crying that day too, Akshay. That was one of the sickest performances I've ever seen. But I want to go back a little bit to the college thing. Do you ever feel like you missed anything by not going to college, like playing on a team and anything like that?
I don't know. I don't think I necessarily. I never pictured myself doing it. I think the social life probably was a bummer, especially out here. There's kind of the cliques here of like the Jordans and the JTs of having their kind of class, all together, all sharing a house. And then you have, so many guys that went to the same school, like Georgia Tech and Clemson and UNC, like all those guys always hang out all the time. And for me, being, young out here for one, but also not going to school and not having much in common about talking about football or whatever it may be, it's definitely a lot different, on the PGA Tour versus Korn Ferry Tour. But I'm happy to be out here. Can't believe it's been 5 years as a professional golfer, and I've probably played 50, 60 tour events now, which is crazy. but it's one thing I probably missed out on, was just the social kind of atmosphere.
Well, Brendon and I were teammates at Virginia Tech, and I don't know that you missed out on much. Brendon was more of a bad influence than anything.
We'll leave those stories for another day.
All right. So, Akshay, Puerto Rico last year, I had the pleasure of walking with you a couple days. Sunday was ridiculous. One of the best back nines I've ever seen. I was walking for Golf Channel, and I found myself just cheering for you and getting so fired up, in tears after the round. You get your temporary membership with that solo second in Puerto Rico, play pretty good, a couple more events, and then you have the fourth place finish, I believe, in Mexico. You're kind of on fire, had a nice finish again at Barbasol. You're pretty much sitting pretty for keeping your 125, and you go into Barracuda and have another epic back nine to win that golf tournament. And I'm not sure if everybody knows this story, but since you weren't a full member of the PGA Tour at the time, you were a temporary member, and those Barbasol and Barracuda are co-sanctioned with the DP World Tour. You didn't get your points. I was on the call in Barracuda, and when you finished, I said, and with that win, he's going to move up into 55th, 56th in the FedEx Cup. I'm just like, I got chills thinking about it right now because I was so excited for you. When did you learn that you weren't going to get those points? And
which is bullshit, by the way. It is absolute bullshit.
Complete bullshit. I think all three of us agree with that. But when did you learn you didn't get those points? And I mean, obviously, it made you feel like, I'm not going to cuss, but it had to make you feel terrible. And I remember seeing you after that. So, walk us through that.
Yeah, I think so much happened, from that Puerto Rico to winning a tour event. But won the golf tournament. We go inside. They have like a little party for us, and my agent, he goes, I got some bad news, and I just came out from like signing a bunch of flags. He's like, you're not going to get your points for winning, and he's like, I'm trying everything to figure it out. Like, is this actual facts? Like, where is it say in the rule book? And it was really hard. It's It was tough because it's such a, I just won a golf tournament. I remember posting on I still have it, but posting the picture on my Instagram of the win, and it says like in the top corner, like plus 300 points, to 51st in the FedEx Cup, and all these things. And I'm just like, man, this, and obviously we didn't know too much about how this season was going to pan out. Obviously, we knew the elevators were going to stay, but it went from I'm going to be in the playoffs and have the opportunity to take a couple weeks off to, okay, well, now I got to go try and finish second again to get into these playoffs. And it was really important to me to get in those playoffs because, 3 events with world ranking points, money, no cuts. And then obviously getting into the elevated events, there was just so much that could have really changed my season this year. And there's always an outside chance I get in that tour championship or whatever it may be. And then you're talking potentially Ryder Cup, very outside chance, very unlikely, but it's still possible with, 3-4 events left. And instead I missed the cut at Wyndham, and I'm like, man, this sucks. Like right away, I was like, I want to go play a DP World event, right after I finish, coming off like 6-7 weeks in a row. And it sucks. I remember having a bunch of conversations with the tour at Wyndham. No one had answers. It was just a lot of BS, to be honest. And it just, I'm still pissed off till this day because I'm not in Arnold Palmer this week. I wasn't in Pebble, where I played great. Genesis in LA, where I grew up in California. I mean, there's all these events I'm missing out on. And would I love to go to Puerto Rico? Sure. But, it just, the travel doesn't make sense. And now, even writing in for sponsor invites doesn't even seem likely that anyone outside of, there's a lot of politics that are going into some of these starts, I believe, and there's nothing I can do. All I can do is play good golf, and hopefully my face and my name kind of shows to these tournament directors. But It sucks for sure.
Wags, I remember having a conversation with you about that. You were absolutely furious.
It's the point. Like, look, Akshay's young. He's talented. He plays with flair.
Yep.
He's got style. Akshay, my whole point when I was talking with people at the tour was that you guys, he's already a temporary member. This is the guy you want playing in the playoffs. And I'm still infuriated by it, Akshay, but I will tell you one thing. It's happened. It's over. You're going to be in all those events for the rest of your career, and you just have to have the right mindset about it. You're headed to a huge event next week for the first time, the Players Championship. So keep your head up and just go take what's yours, because you have all that. All right.
Yeah, no, I you got to be optimistic, obviously. But yeah, I think what was the hardest thing is if I was maybe a DP player, or I had, if I didn't play so many events on the tour, I was in a special temporary member of the PGA Tour. I think, yeah, it makes a lot more sense. But the rule of it was for WGC events. Not, it never says co-sanctioned. And the tour has a lot of power. They could have handled it differently, I think. A little more remorse, or guaranteeing me at least one start in one of these elevated. So I played great at Pebble a couple years ago, and did everything I could to get into that event, and had no chance. So it's all good. I mean, I'll climb my way there. So
On a positive note from the win, because it was your first PGA Tour win, first of many, I believe. Hopefully you do as well. I know Brendon does. Tell us a little bit about the celebration. Did you get to go enjoy yourself anywhere special after that win?
yeah, yeah, being 21, being about 30-minute flight to Vegas. We
Good
we
man.
went to Vegas, spent a couple days there. And it was funny. We flew Southwest. We were trying, I don't ever spoil myself or anything, but we were trying to get a private jet straight to Vegas. We obviously couldn't get it in time, but we go to the Reno airport. We're flying Southwest. It was like a $70 flight. No one's on the plane. So it was pretty much our private, only private plane to ourselves. Just, 1% of the price. But yeah, it was awesome. I mean, we had a great time in Vegas, and it was awesome being able to go home and then just go straight to Wyndham, where it's an hour drive or so.
Where'd you stay in Vegas?
We stayed at some Marriott. It was on the Strip, but it wasn't. We didn't go to any. We visited a lot of the nice hotels. I'll say that, but
Well, that's where hotels like the Marriott. That's where Brendon and I used to say we tore up that Westin just off Strip a few times there.
Oh man, I love that place. I remember gambling at the same table from 7:00 one night until 4:00 the next afternoon. And finally the pit boss said, "I'm giving you a ride home. Where are you staying?" Man,
yeah,
it's
crazy.
those are the places.
Yeah, I did not sleep at all. And I remember, we were playing some games, and I don't know what time we started out. We landed probably at 10:00. We probably started playing around 12, and my cousin and I are playing. We're not on our phones, and we walk outside. It's probably 7, 8 a.m. It's light outside. People are jogging, and I'm like, what the heck is going on?
Was that your first trip to Vegas?
No, I mean, no, I've played Shriners before, but first time, being old enough to like be in those hotels and everything. So,
And not having to work.
yeah, it was pretty cool. It was pretty cool.
All right, let's have a little fun. Let's take it away from golf for a second. I want to talk about off course. I know you have 2 dogs. Word on the street is you're a big car guy, and if you were to win the FedEx Cup tomorrow and could go buy any car, any year, any car you want, what is your bucket list vehicle?
Oh, man. I mean, how much is a FedEx? 20 million?
You can afford any car you want.
I mean, I would. It's hard to say. I would probably buy a couple. I'd buy like a Rolls Royce Cullinan, which is the SUV, and deck that out, and then probably get like a super sick, Ferrari, or I don't know, if maybe a Lamborghini. It's just anything exotic, right? I played the Seminole Pro member this past week, and I saw Rory pull up in a $400,000 or $500,000 Ferrari. It was so sick, right? And I was in the locker room and talking to him, and I was like, "Are you big into cars?" And he's like, "Yeah, he's like, I pretty much had everything under the sun." He's had like a LaFerrari, which is like a couple million, and I was like, that is sick. Like that's who I want to be, having sick cars. And he's like, it's just like when I was in my 20s, that was my thing, but now it's have a nice car and then a big SUV for the kids. And this week I pull up to Seminole in a Chrysler minivan parked at valet. I'm like, God. But yeah, I don't know, just anything sick.
Come on, Wags. I'm sure you got some more hard-hitting questions.
I do. I got one. I want to have a little fun with this. Like, look, it's pretty clear as you take your hat off, your hair game is strong to quite strong. Like, I know you've worn visors in the past. You've worn hats. You look great in a backwards hat. Probably look good like with no hat. What was the old European tour guy's name that never wore a hat? You could put some flow in there. Like Brendon's only got one possible style of haircut, and that is clean. So, like, what are we going to see? Anything interesting out of the flow? Long, short?
Yeah, I don't know. I've wanted to cut it. She likes long hair. It's kind of my style. So I just keep it. Hawaii, I got a haircut. It was more like a mullet. So I just keep it going. I mean, my head's really small too, so I wear kids hats. I wear junior fit hats. Even with my long hair, they still barely fit me. So I got to keep it.
Love it. Love the long hair. I'm jealous of it too. I'm starting to go a little bald, but I got more than Brendon.
Yeah, you do. But it's trending. That peak is growing there. It is trending. All right, Akshay, we've all played professional golf for long enough now, and we all have that one question that we hate. What is it?
Out of like a pro-am playing partner.
Yeah.
Gosh, I don't. One question that I would hate.
That you get all the time that pisses you off.
It's probably not for you guys necessarily, but for me, it's like I hate when I get asked what my weight is. I get that asked all the time.
So do
Yeah, I
we.
get the same thing.
It's like, what do you weigh? And I'm like, I don't know, what do you weigh? You know what I mean? But I would say, either that or like you tell them a putting tip or something, and then it's just like it's like one ear out the other.
Brendon, what's your least favorite question you get all the time?
For such a big guy, why do you hit the ball so short?
That's classic. I bet
Yeah.
you're getting that more and more these days too.
Yeah, I am. And yours, Wags, there's got to be something good.
The one that it's like no matter if I'm doing a speaking engagement or playing in a pro-am, they always ask who are the biggest dicks on tour. And
Yeah.
I can't stand that question. I've got a couple standard responses, but I hate that question.
Yeah.
Yeah. That one's good.
Yeah.
All right. This is your first full season on the PGA Tour. I like to know, I know you've played some West Coast events before, played a US Open at Torrey, I believe. You've played Pebble, but like, what are some highlights for you early on this season on the PGA Tour as a winner and as a full-time member first season?
I mean, obviously Century was kind of a awesome experience, right? You watch that. That's one tournament I've watched every time growing up. And being there, being on that golf course, and then playing with Jordan, being in that final group on Sunday, it was just like everything was like, wow, like the year's already here, kind of thing. And that was an awesome event. I think Farmers is one of the best events we ever play. The fans there, the golf course, how hard it is, like it really is a true test being there. And then I think waste outside the weather was so bad, but being out there is kind of that's where I like to be. That's my thing. We started doing YouTube a couple months ago, and having that video come out was fun. Just interacting with the crowd and and it's a zoo. I mean, we watched so many people slip and fall that week. It was hilarious. But it's been a lot of there's just so many things to look forward to. Players, obviously, I haven't played there since 2017 or 18. Um, but I'm looking forward to getting out there. Obviously, anytime we get to play in kind of a golf community, I think is really cool. Brings everyone together. You're playing against the best players in the world, and I'm looking forward to kind of the whole season. It seems like it's going so fast. By the time we look at the schedule, it's like summer's almost here. So there's a lot to look forward to. And start of the year, it's been nice. It's been a lot of consistencies and a couple missed cuts here and there, but I'm looking forward to the next couple weeks.
I'm going to give you a statement. Tell me if this is correct. You are a notoriously hard worker, but you are really good at leaving golf swing on the range and playing golf when you get out there.
Yeah, factual.
Yep.
It's weird. When I get on the golf course, I don't think about anything other than literally like opening the face, shutting the face. Just how do I get the ball from A to B? But when my coach is around, there's a lot of things I want to improve in my golf swing, and I think a couple of shots that I can get better at. But once even when I'm on the range and he's not there, I don't ever think about golf swing. It's more doing a lot of TrackMan tests, just going through my routine and then going out. So
That's nice to be a hard worker. Brendon in college, when coach would used to put one of those big buckets of balls down, then he'd ride off up the hill, and coach would say, "You guys can leave when that big bucket's gone." Uh, as soon as coach was out of sight, Brendon would take that bucket, throw it out onto the range, and look at me and say, "Johnson, you're my ride. Hurry up and throw your balls out there too, so we can get out of here."
that's
You should have
hilarious.
seen the damn range that we were hitting off. It was, it was a waste of time.
We had the yellow cracked Pinnacle range balls.
The best. That's terrible.
All right, so we touched on the players a couple times. Next week, your first time there at the Players Championship. You just mentioned that you hadn't been there since 17 or 18. What are your previous experiences around TPC Sawgrass?
I played junior players there, AJGA event, lost in a playoff, which is cool. It's cool being there. Being in that locker room, we had the same locker room, and back when I was a kid playing AJGA, like the invitationals, junior players, as an example, they had like the tour trucks out there for us. So it really felt like a cool experience. But I remember that first round, I was 6 under, bogey free, leading the golf tournament by probably 3 or 4. And then I step on 18, I dunk it in the water, make double. And for whatever reason, struggling with my driver that week. But I remember in that playoff, I hit just 2-iron as far right as I could just to keep it out of the water, and I ended up losing that in a playoff. But it's a great golf course I feel like for me as a lefty, and it's so awkward with some of those tee shots, and the greens are really tricky. But I'm looking forward to it. I mean, part of me wishes we still played it in May. I remember just seeing carnage with the burnout greens and the fairways being super fast and firm. But I think as a fan, you always watch that tournament. Everyone calls it the 5th major, and I don't know how many people have won it in their rookie appearance, but it's something that I'm looking forward to having the opportunity to do.
Well, it's got to be a good course fit to you. I mean, we talked
Yeah.
at length about how you can move the ball both ways, and I think that's the beauty of that golf course is that you have to be able to turn the ball both ways off the tee, and then a lot of the holes you have to fade it off the tee, and then you have to draw it into the green or vice versa. And your ability to shot shape would have to think that it would be a great venue for you.
Yeah, no, it's kind of fun. It takes you out of your comfort zone of hitting many different shots, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to it, and also getting those feelings on 17, and you could play it in your head so many times about being in contention, what that's going to feel like, and trying to hit that 18th tee shot. But it's something that I'm really looking forward to just playing again competitively.
Right on. Brendon, you got anything else, big guy?
No, man, this has been a lot of fun. I love getting to know you a little bit more. And you know what? I second what Johnson said there. I think that golf course is tailor-made for your game. We will be watching very, very closely.
Yeah,
Akshay, you're the man. I look forward to seeing you. I'll be on the ground at the Players myself, so I'll come have to say hello, and cannot thank you enough for coming on with us today.
I appreciate it. I got one question for Brendon. What was it? Quail Hollow, didn't you shot like 80 something and then 62 to make the cut?
I did. I shot 80-62, and then I played with Mickelson on Saturday, and we're walking down number 3, and he looks at me. He's like, "What'd you shoot yesterday?" So I told him 62. He doesn't say good round or anything. Phil was 9 under through 11, and I could tell all he wanted to do was beat 62. He missed a bunch of putts coming in, but it was the best round I'd ever seen. But yeah, it was 80-62.
That's something I always remember for whatever reason. I think that's probably the best comeback from dead last to making a cut, right? On tour. Has to be, right?
I think it could be. Yeah, I finished it nicely. I think I finished 6th that week, but it was a fun week. I mean, I shot 80. I'm standing there by the barbecue. We're having a braai. My parents are over, and I had probably 10, 12 beers, not expecting any chance of playing the weekend. Wake up early and shoot 62. It's a stupid game.
Oh man, that's amazing. Anyway, I had to ask that.
That's a
No
great
worries.
question. Then the next question you need to ask is, how many times have you won on the PGA Tour, Brendon?
The same amount of tour championships you made, Wags.
Oh snap! All right, this could go on for a while. Akshay, best of luck, man. You're the best. Thanks for coming on with us.
Yeah, thanks, boys. Enjoyed it.
Keep it going. Enjoyed it. Thank you.
Well, Brendon, that was certainly special having Akshay on. I hard for me to become a bigger fan of his, but I think I just did.
Oh, I couldn't agree more, Wags. Like I didn't know much about Akshay going into this. That was fun. I'd heard that once you get him talking and once you get him into it, he's a lot of fun to be around. I mean, that really was awesome.
Yeah, there's big things coming for him. I think multiple wins, getting a little confidence in himself, and going ahead and finishing off this year, and putting the stuff behind him. I just think he's got the brightest future, and it's hard to believe. I think he's just about to turn 22 here soon.
And I tell you what, he's got a quality that a lot of the younger kids don't have. We've seen all these guys that have grown up on TrackMan that have learned to optimize everything. We heard him talking about it, that once he gets out there, he's just playing golf. And this guy hits all kinds of shots. He'll tee drivers way down and hit these kind of squeeze fades. Then the next hole, he's going to tee one way up and hit this big high draw. And I tell you what, it's fun to watch him play. And again, I wish him nothing but the best. And I've got to, again, I was with you. I was a fan. Now I'm a huge fan.
Well, hopefully he goes out, wins the Players Championship, and we can get him on as a regular guest, and he can walk us through how he made it happen.
Yeah,
thanks everybody for listening tonight, and we'll talk to you real soon. Have a good one.